Okay, so today we have on Hindustan astrology Dr. Santhip Kanholy back to teach us some more wonderful Vedic astrology from India. And today we're going to explore the Navagrahas. And this is going to be something that we're going to talk about over, the next couple of months, several months. And that is how the grahas, or the planets, behave through the nakshatras. And this is something that are like sublayers of sublayers. And, of course, you can always go with the top layer and make the connections. But when you start to go into the nakshatras, I find this is where things start to really resonate. And so with that, I'd like to welcome Santhip.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Katya, and namaste to all your audiences, to you as well. I wanted to kind of just give a brief understanding, kind of introduction, really, to what I wanted to cover. Now, we understand Sun, or Surya, as it's called in Sanskrit in Vedic astrology. We understand in of a graha, it's given primary importance. It's very important in Western astrology. It's very essential to read your horoscope, to give all kinds of things, But what is interesting is we also have an entirely different set of knowledge of nakshatras. And it's almost like there tends to be, you can say, you view the grahas itself in a limited kind of fashion. When you are understanding nakshatras itself. Now, there are layers of a particular graha which we add when you are beginning to use nakshatras. Just wanted to introduce one particular way or a couple of ways to look at it. So it's kind of a simple concept, but it's much more unique in its implication. So it will be very interesting as we go through it. So I'll actually begin to share my screen. Let's see. So tell me if you are able to see heart and sun. Right. So now here, I wanted to just, again, it's a very simple concept here. This picture is actually, is placed by intention, So beginning here is that I want to simply share this idea that sun or Surya is actually present in each of our own hearts, So you actually have an inner sun within yourself. And it's an actual meditation practice followed by different spiritual, which they actually meditate up the inner sun. And they allow that brightness of their inner sun to come out. And I think that when this can be a very powerful practice. In fact, there is a very famous mantra which Lord Ram learned from his guru to defeat the demon king Ravana, called as the Aditya Hridaya Stotra. Now, Aditya translates as sun or Surya, Hridaya translates as heart, and Stotram is just a mantra. So the sun heart mantra, that's what he literally had to chant to defeat the demon king. And finally he defeated. So it's a very powerful thing when you begin to connect with the sun, especially in your heart. And you can find this mantra online. It's there in YouTube. You can listen to it. You can chant it yourself.
I really love the Rajshri Soul YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. I find the visualizations on their videos to be, really poignant and resonates with me. And I find myself being drawn into them. So if you guys want to look that up, Rajshri, Rajshri Soul. They've got wonderful videos for sure, and all the grahas.
Right. So yeah, great. So definitely look at Aditya Hridaya Stotra. Now, benefits they say of chanting this mantra or listening to this mantra is actually improvement in career, improvement in your own self-esteem, improvement in self-confidence, and also improvement in your own ability to shine like a sun. So that's a very strong thing with that. Now here, this zodiac, you see that we have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, all the way through Pisces that is coming up, and each of these signs are also given associated with its own nakshatras also. So you have Aries associated with Ashwini, Bharani, and then Kritika, and then we move on. Now, so Sun in the traditional astrology it is ruling Leo, and you have Magha Nakshatra falling in Leo, Pura Falguni Nakshatra, a bit for Uttara Falguni Nakshatra also falling in Leo. And of course, in the Vimshotri Dasha system, Sun is connected with Kritika Nakshatra, Uttara Falguni Nakshatra, and Uttarashada Nakshatra. So I just wanted to give a visual kind of perspective before we really dived into the details. Now I'll just, here I just have an introduction of the South Indian chart versus the North Indian chart. So Sun is actually ruling Leo, as is seen here with the star. And, in the North Indian chart, this is how you will see. So Sun is actually controlled this particular box in the South Indian chart, and Sun is connected with this particular box in the North Indian chart, assuming Aries is the rising sign. So I just have it's one of those graphical things which I was just doing.
Yeah,
no, but,
just people know, a lot of people that are new to this, they don't realize when they're looking at the charts, if they haven't been, in a proper class, is that in the South Indian chart, the signs are always fixed. So Leo is always in that spot. But in the North Indian, the ascendant is always at the top, like where Aries is. So that will change according to the time. And, I love both charts. They both have their beauties. North Indian chart, you can really see how the houses aspect each other.
Yeah.
But in South Indian, you've got the stability that you always know that the mutables are always in the corners, so it's like, I love them both.
Exactly that. So, only learning to look at your chart through both the North Indian and the South Indian chart helps in a specific aspect. And you'll see that as helping out with different set of skills. So for instance, house, you can get a deeper understanding of houses and how the house looks, and when you use the North Indian chart. The South Indian chart, you can easily develop you can get more into nakshatras very easily and stuff like that too, so it's just a matter of getting used to with that. Now here, so we'll kind of begin to understand Sun through the Sun rule nakshatra. So here you have the first Sun rule nakshatra. Now again, remember the Sun is connected with the rulership of these nakshatras in the Vimshotri Dasha system, the popularly used system, and that is that in that particular Dasha, Sun is connected with 3 different nakshatras as introduced in the previous slide. So you have Sun ruling Kritika nakshatra, Uttara Falguni and Uttarashada nakshatra, and Kritika is falling between Aries and Taurus. And then you have Uttara Falguni connected with Sun, which is falling in Leo and Virgo. And then Uttarashada is connected with Sun in Sagittarius and Capricorn. Now, this is a traditional kind of very helpful practice to understand the nakshatras is look at the placement of your Sun. You can make these particular nakshatras as the ascendant, and wherever the Sun plays in your chart, that particular nakshatra will express itself through the house distance from that nakshatra to that Sun. So say you have Sun here in Libra in this sign. Say you have a planet here in Kritika, Padavan of 8. You can see that from East to Libra, it's 7 houses away. So you can kind of that that Kritika nakshatra energies will express itself through the Sun placed in Libra in a 7 house, through the energies of 7th house again. So that is one simple tip out there. But what is interesting with Kritika, Uttara Falguni, and Uttarashada is that the deities of Kritika Nakshatra, the deity of Kritika Nakshatra is actually Agni, who is the god. The Uttara Falguni deity is actually Aryaman, who is the chief amongst the Pitris, or amongst the elders. And then you have Uttarashada, the deity is actually the Vishwadevas, or the universal gods. just simply think in terms of that. You have a evolution of sun's energy beginning from fire, which is the Agni god here. And then that fire is transforming itself to the chief amongst the Pitris. So the fire amongst the other, elders, you could say, that is the Uttara Falguni. And then that fire finally is become universal fire through the Vishwa Devas or the universal gods, Uttarashada Nakshatra.
Now, Ganesha is also associated with Uttara Ashada. So how would that energy play in?
What did you mean by that? How is Dhanishta associated with Uttarashada?
Ganesha associated with Uttara Ashada. That's like a secondary deity for Uttara Ashada. How would that energy come in?
Which deity was that again?
Ganesha.
Oh, Ganesha. Okay, right. Yeah, we'll look at that also. So we'll look at that. So that's good. That's a good point. Now, will kind of make sense when so Nakshatras again is several layers. The layer right now you're talking is a layer of the deities. I'll explain the Ganesha connection when we look at the layer of the symbols just by itself. So it's kind of we'll begin to understand Ganesha very easily there when we discuss the layer of symbols. So if you understand so here you can see that if you think of the sun is like so it's like in Kritika Nakshatra is carrying that energy of the fire or the fire god himself or Agni, and that is evolving towards the fire amongst a group of people. So the light amongst a group of people, which is who a chief of the elder or the chief of the Pitris is, and you'll see in groups, in spiritual groups where the elders are given a lot of respect and importance, you'll find that, those are more likely to have the Falguni kind of nakshatra playing out in the chart. That's very likely there. Now, what is interesting is that now the chief, the fire, the light amongst the elders is finally evolving itself to universal light. So you have this deep symbolic kind of energetic evolution that is happening with respect to sun. And it makes sense too. Now, so what is interesting about the sun is a planet sun is a graha, which is always giving off light. So again, understanding these nakshatras are also kind of symbolic of the light being radiated from these placements, So you look up to the chief for guidance, you look up to fire for light, you look up to the universal gods for your own evolution, So it's a very interesting kind of thing. And now that means, again, if you have a planet placed in Kritika, there's a good chance that for that planet to shine, so you'll find a lot of stars, a lot of musicians, they might have a placement in Kritika. You might have a lot of leaders even have a placement in Kritika, It's very interesting. And because remember, sun is the only graha which is giving its own light. So it is shining radiantly. So that's a simple kind of thing, simple kind of understanding of sun through the deities of these particular nakshatras. Now we look at the next layer of symbols. So every nakshatra is associated with its own symbol. Skip the slide here. So yeah, the symbol of nakshatras is actually a pair of scissors, so it's cutting. And then you have Uttara Falguni having the symbol of, you can see it here. Scissors, a small sword or the scissors is what the symbol of Kritika Nakshatra is actually, as you can see here. And then you have Uttara Falguni Nakshatra.
That's the Pleiades star system is Kritika.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, the Pleiades star system, you're right. So that's great, So you have a lot of points there. And then Uttara Falguni Nakshatra is actually having the symbol of the back legs of a bed. So you have the front legs of the bed, which is Pura Falguni. Uttara Falguni is the back legs of the bed, the portion of the bed which is connected with your legs, So that particular portion. And then you have Uttarashada having a symbol of, in this particular system, they have shown Uttarashada as a maze, I think, as a wall, a boundary kind of thing. But some systems they also consider Purvashada symbol of elephant's tusk as being present in Uttarashada world. So you can think about Purvashada and Uttarashada carrying similar energies. And the elephant's tusk is actually an alternate symbol that is used in Uttarashada as well. Now, what is symbolic of elephant's tusk is that's where the Ganesha energy comes in. So Ganesha is an elephant-headed god, and he is actually having a tusk. In fact, you'll find he goes that Ganesha broke his tusk to write down the Mahabharata. So you'll find that you'll find that you'll find that people with planets here in Purvashada and Uttarashada, they are prolific writers because of that, simply because of that. So usually it's a common question to clients that, okay, when are you writing your book? So it's like, yeah, I have a book in mind and I should sit down and write it. That's a very common thing that can happen in Purvashada. Now, the interesting thing with Uttara Falguni symbol is that the back legs is actually symbolic of the service. So think of a chief of the Pitris, right? Chief of the elders. Think of the chief amongst the elders, how much kind of service they would do towards the community. So they would be there for the young ones, they would be passing on the stories and things like that. And there is also a big element of community service here in Uttara Falguni Nakshatra. So usually you'll find these natives are involved in social service or one way or the other. They are involved in educating the young, that kind of thing is very strong, the Uttara Falguni Nakshatra energies. And finally, in the Kritika Nakshatra, you have the symbol of knife. Now, knife is actually showing how piercing or very strong sun can be. So you have a thing of being in the presence of a king, for that matter. So you can understand how the light or an aura is kind of too very piercing. It's like very penetrating of sorts. So you can see that in a big way. And it's very interesting. Then now you begin to see that sun can actually be protecting your border king or having your own sensibility. It can be connected with, the elephant's tusk of writing about your own deepest self-knowledge. It can also be connected with service as well. There is an element of service to the public, which is Uttara Falguni. And then you have Kritika Nakshatra, which is all about finding or expressing your own inner light. It's a very symbolic kind of thing there. So now here it's now I connected the sun ruled nakshatras with the energies of the sun. That is what I've done here. Now we'll go to the next set of nakshatras, which actually is very important as far as sun is concerned. So the important nakshatras for the sun, important rashis as well as for the sun, is actually the three signs. One is the Mulatrikon sign of sun, which is falling in Leo sign, but that is actually falling in Magha nakshatra as well. And then you have the exaltation sign of sun, which is falling in Aries, and that is actually sun is actually getting exalted Ashwini nakshatra in Aries. And then finally, sun is getting debilitated in Leo sign, but it is actually getting debilitated in the nakshatra of Swati. So now you have three more nakshatras to consider as far as sun is concerned. You have Mulatrikon sign of Magha, exaltation with Mulatrikon nakshatra of Magha, exaltation nakshatra of Ashwini, and debilitation nakshatra of Swati as well. Now it's a very important thing, very interesting thing, because these nakshatras are very powerful nakshatras. Ashwini is the first nakshatra of the zodiac, and that is the exact place where sun gets exalted in. So you can think of Ashwini also carrying a lot of energies of sun. The exaltation energies of sun expresses itself in Ashwin. And then if you look at the stories, the deity of Ashwin Nakshatra is actually Ashwin Kumars, who themselves were children of the sun. So, so the sun god himself. So it was it's a very symbolic link, a deep symbolic exists between sun and Ashwini Nakshatra. And it's a kind of a very interesting concept, because Ashwin Kumars were the twin gods who had the horse head. So there is and if you know horses, if you have been around horses, you know that horses have a morning routine. They are up and out when the sun is out. They are out there when the sun is out, and they are very much interlinked with the sun. In fact, ancient culture used to use horse as a symbol connected with sun because of their intimate link, horse as with the sun. And but what is interesting is that if you look at the Mulatrikon sign, now you're finally beginning to understand sun in a very functional kind of basis. Now, The concept of Mula Trikona sign is that Sun is finally in its home base when it's in Mula Trikona sign of Leo. Now Leo is the king of the sign of kings. You have planets in Leo, you're very good, like you're very likely to have a royal thing going on. Either you might have a royal ego persona, you might love royal, you might become like a royal person yourself. All that thing is very strong in Leo. And Leo makes sense, a king is always comfortable when he is in its home base, when he is sitting on his own throne, which is actually a symbol of Magha Nakshatra. So it's very interesting because, and then you have Swati Nakshatra, which is the nakshatra where sun actually gets debilitated. So sun is getting debilitated in the nakshatra of Swati, which is actually linked with the god of wind or Vayu. If you understand Vayu as the wind, so you can think about Vayu as a place where everything is being scattered. So wind is very scattery. It is like, going around all the place. Air can fill the room immediately. But compared to sun, where sun is actually expressing itself from a central point. Now, central point is very strong in Ashwin because it's a horse's head, horse knows where it's going and stuff like that. It's very pointed in that regard. And then in Magha Nakshatra, the sun finds itself occupying the position of the king, and it's giving commands upon their subjects. But there is a very decision-making ability that becomes very strong in Magha Nakshatra. Yeah, exactly. And then you have Swati Nakshatra, where finally it is forced to travel. So it has to travel. Now it's like, think about sun and think about sunlight being spread over a long distance, right? So think about a yellow sun which is being forced to travel to occupy, to make the entire room yellow, and forgetting that individual uniqueness, right? So now you are missing out on the energies or the centralized energies of sun very strongly in Swati. So that's the reason why they say sun gets debilitated in Swati Nakshatra. Of course, if you're the god of wind, who is the deity of Swati Nakshatra, Vayu, the mysteries in that, you can understand Vayu as the god which is connected intimately with your breath. Now, when the moment when you lose your breath, you actually become, you don't have life anymore. So your sun is also the vitality in your own body. Sun is also linked with your health.
Is the indication of life.
Exactly.
The inhale of breath at birth and the exhale of breath at death.
Right.
That is the span of the life cycle.
Right. Exactly that. So I would add the inhale is very much linked with, with new energies coming in. The exhale is connected with, letting go of the energies that is there in your system. And you can actually connect the inhale breath and the exhale breath with the Ashwin Kumar. There are two gods. You have the two Ashwin Kumars, the twin gods. So the one god is actually the inhaling breath, the other god is actually the exhaling breath. In fact, one easy way to increase your life and longevity is to control your own breath. So you have the pranayamas, which is intimately linked with balancing your own breath. So doing long inhalations to one nostril, releasing to the other, and so on. That's the simplest pranayama. Of course, there are 100 different pranayamas out there. But then, you can actually extend your longevity and lifespan through breathing exercises. And that's exactly what is happening with the energies of Swati Nakshatra. So when you're doing pranayama,
in Native American animal medicine, that's dolphin is breath. It's mana.
Very interesting. Mm-hmm. Very fascinating. So dolphin is definitely very interesting topic. At some point we'll talk about that. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting. So yeah, definitely that the concept of mana very strong in Magha Nakshatra. Magha Nakshatra is actually the king. The seat of the king is in royalty. So the symbol of Magha is actually a throne, and you can see that as the king the easiest way again be yourself is when you have your breath being very calm, in a very calm and steady manner. It's as simple as that. And then you find that easiest way again to work on your confidence is actually to just take a handle of your breath. People who lose their breath very quickly will find that they tend to scatter their energies very strongly. But then at the same time, when you begin to breathe through your diaphragm, you're actually working on your fifth house Leo. That's actually improving your breath also. And that's the simplest thing. And of course, with Margaret.
Yeah, I mean, what happens when you have an anxiety attack? You start to hyperventilate, right? I mean, that's
exactly that.
That's the first sign of anxiety. And anxiety is the anxiety levels in society are higher than they've ever been.
Exactly
people are just off the charts.
Exactly that. So again, you can see that directly from
work.
Exactly that. So exactly that. So easiest thing here again is that Swati is also linked not only with breath, it is also linked directly with social media as well. So you'll find an easiest remedy here is actually to connect social media when is in your breath. Either you are breathing very regularly and then your social media if you convert your social media time into breathwork exercise time, you will actually accomplish a lot. And that's the easiest thing. And of course, I'm sure, Katyan, I know that you as a dancer, you definitely understand the value of breath when you're dancing too, right? So and that's exactly what is happening in Swati also, which is actually falling in Libra, which is a sign ruled by Venus. So when you're actually dancing, you have a good handle as well. So there's a lot of things going on with the breath. So but easy way again to improve your sun's energy is again to have a morning routine, just to become like a horse. Sun is exalted in Ashwin Nakshatra. You'll find that this is a big reason why there is a very strong discipline in the military for the soldiers to wake up before sunrise and to be doing a very important activity around sunrise time. So they are either working out, they are training around sunrise. Training gets over by the time it's 9 or something like that. But all the time or universally, the soldier 4:30 a.m. So yeah.
So would you say that people that maybe have Leo, prominent in their chart, or have these sun nakshatras prominent, that if they're not confident, then that's when all the ego problems happen with Leo, because that's the problem. So many people think of Leo as, oh, they're so full of themselves. They're so full of ego, but that's the unbalanced side of Leo, because the positive side of Leo is this beautiful, giving, nurturing, loving children, loving education, wanting to give. But if that's not balanced, then they turn inwards to themselves, like, what's the matter with me? And it's this whole ego thing. And then but from us looking from the outside, we're like, oh, what is the matter with this person? But really it's this internal conflict.
Yes.
That's resulting, and it's really kind of like, I think, the shadow side of the sun, right?
Yes, definitely. 100%. The shadow side of sun is really, all these nakshatras have their own shadow sides too. Sun being exalted in Ashwini, you might be extremely impatient. You just want to be like a horse and you just want to start running,
Just go, 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 go.
Yeah. That's the sun in Ashwini problem. Sun in Magha is like, I have my king, I have my seat, I am the king. Why are you not listening to me? And
why aren't you listening to me?
Yeah, it's a typical Magha thing.
That's fantastic. You got to write this down.
Yeah, and then you have Sun in Swati, where it's actually a problem of like, you're just trying to go everywhere instead of like finding yourself in a simple space. It's a very strong Sun in Swati kind of thing. And usually that's a very concept as well. I find that with Sun in Swati, especially with this particular placement, there are a lot of threats hidden in these layers, and I'll kind of touch on them in a couple more slides along the way. But it's very important to understand all these nakshatras are very important, that you kind of have to channelize the positive aspects of these nakshatras. Definitely very, very important. And sometimes for some natives, especially in Swati or Sun Maga or Sun Ashwini or even any planets, they might have to activate those energies to find that kind of confidence also. So for instance, for a person with Sun in Maga, they might actually become confident when they actually get a fixed position in their life. They have a career responsibility, when they have a child, for instance, that's a very Maga theme. Then suddenly things change, and now say for a person with Ashwini, they just need to have a morning routine and then things immediately change. And then with Sun in Swati, these natives might actually have to travel. And when they travel, then what you are expecting getting a deeper quality of the sun. So here, when you kind from the sun that is scattering its energy all around the room to the sun that is showing off its own light to all around the room. So like the candle that is giving its own light, that kind of.
But I have to add that the kind of light that's coming from Swati really is coming from the star, and that's Arcturus. And Arcturus
exactly, yeah.
is the
Right.
shining jewel. It has, if you're looking at it, it looks very pink and purple, it's beautiful. And so, this is kind of like the iridescence that comes off of when the sun, the sunlight hits a jewel, right?
Yes.
Because Swati's the jewel. So this is the radiating light that comes off of it. So that sun is there, it's just being reflected through this jewel.
Yeah, definitely. So you have a very strong, of course, Libra is Venus, which is connected with jewels. The nakshatra that is immediately before Swati is actually Chitra, which itself has this a pearl or a jewel. So definitely those themes which you said definitely make sense too. Yeah. So now we'll go to the final set of nakshatras. It's a kind of a different kind of take. Yeah, and of course you can connect with these particular signs by itself, the Mul Trikon, exaltation and debilitation sign. You can kind of understand a lot more things, if you understand the house distance again of these signs with the sun in your, you can give all kinds of predictions. Yeah. Now let's see. Here's the final kind of aspect which I want to throw light upon. We understand Leo itself is carrying three different nakshatras. You have Maga there, you have Pura Falguni there, you have Uttara Falguni there. Now, so it's actually very important to understand that and recognize that even Sun will always have an influence upon these three nakshatras as well, because why back it is falling in the sign. These nakshatras are falling in the sign ruled by Sun itself. So find a lot of solar qualities are still present in Maga, Pura Falguni, and Uttara Falguni. We already understood how Falguni is carrying the energies of Sun. We saw also how the king is very present in the Maga Nakshatra as well. Now we also have to recognize that Pura Falguni is also going to carry the energy of Sun as well. And you'll find this very strongly, very prominently with native Falguni. The symbol of Falguni is also a platform. So you'll find very prominent with actors, with movie stars, people who just want to be on a platform and give their lectures and stuff like that. And these can be teachers, this can be actors, dramatics, people who are very much addressing a large gathering. That is an actual thing here with Pura Falguni as well. And you'll find that many times these are natural attention seekers out there. People who have planets in Pura Falguni, they just try to attention all way that is possible. Of course, that can be good if you're shining off your own light and wisdom, but it can be bad if you're not. Exactly, yeah. The party nakshatra, exactly that. Exactly that. So they love parties, they love shining their own light, they love that attention that they're feeling, all that. And again, it's also reflection of the self-confidence and stuff like that, with these nakshatra of Pura Falguni as well. Now, what is interesting is that it's a very simple concept again. It's simple as that if you have a conjunction of the planets connected with each of these nakshatras, so like for instance, say if you have a conjunction of the nakshatra lord associated with a nakshatra and the sign associated with a particular nakshatra, you can actually get the energy of the nakshatra coming out of the conjunction. So for instance, here Magha is ruled by Ketu. It is falling in the Leo sign, which is ruled by Sun. So if your conjunction of Sun and Ketu have, that conjunction is carrying Magha energy. Same way with Purva Falguni, it's ruled by Venus falling in Leo, which is ruled by Sun. So Sun and Venus conjunction is also carrying Purva Falguni nakshatra energy. What is interesting with Uttarafalguni that it is purely ruled by Sun. So you can't get more hardcore than Uttarafalguni as far as Sun's energy is concerned. Mm-hmm. So you'll find these natives are extremely stubborn. You know, these natives are extremely royalty-like. They are very fixed in their opinions and stuff like that. You know, that kind of thing can be very strong. The Falguni natives in many ways. You know, and these I've seen that many times. These natives hold on to their views no matter how long they go on in their lives. You know, these are the elders who will, at no matter what, they will give up their tradition. You know? That's very, very strong.
Well, it's about the community, right? I mean, when I think of Falguni, I think of, you know, I mean, Purva Falguni is the actual wedding, but Uttara Falguni is the marriage that comes after the wedding. And that, if you're going to have a successful marriage, you have to have a community that supports you. And that's, to me, what Uttara Falguni represents. It's like the person who's, you know, active in their church or active in their community, and they're involved with things and they help others and they're always doing. That's that sun activity.
No, exactly that. You know, so Purva Falguni is actually the marriage party. Uttar Falguni is the actual marriage. You know, that's the way you could look at that. You know, and then you find that people actually find these. You know, people with planets in Purva Falguni, Uttar Falguni, they will be connected to weddings. You know, they good chance they are a bridesmaid in someone's wedding. Good chance that they are a best man in someone's wedding. Those kind of things. You know. So here now again, I've introduced Sun and presented Sun through nakshatras purely. If you understood that, so it's like you connected with the energy of Sun, multiple layers of energy of Sun through all the different nakshatras. That's what I did here. Now I just wanted to kind of show the esoteric things, you know. Well, yeah, and here I was just playing around with can make different signs as the ascendant, and then try to see the influence of Sun. Like, for instance, you can make Leo as the ascendant. Sun gets debilitated in third house, gets exalted in ninth house of philosophy and spirituality, and so on. If you make Aries as the ascendant, Sun becomes the ruler of the fifth house, and which is getting debilitated in seventh house. So Aries natives might have ego issues with their partners, you know, and they might have to change that. And a child can actually change or improve their in many ways, you know, can stabilize the relationship and stuff like that. But yeah, but moving forward, I just want to share this simple thing. It's very interesting. I came across this information when I was doing research on Sun. So it's very, so the picture above is actually the picture of a fountain of youth. What an artist's illustration of a fountain of youth. So you have old people on one side, and they are entering into the fountain of youth, and they become youthful. And as they leave the fountain of youth, suddenly, you know, they're all youth. So now, what is interesting is that if you look at, there's very interesting research going on in which they actually use a process to reprogram normal adult cells to cells. And these stem cells can transform themselves into many different kind of cells. And researchers were actually able to boost the lifespans of mice by 30% by when they rejuvenate some of these tissues using stem cells. So I've seen, again, Sun is incredibly connected with stem cells, this constitute, right? So it's very natural that vitality of can actually be linked with stem cells also, you know, eventually.
So stem cells are rooted in Surya, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Sun, you can access stem cell. You can use stem cells to access the Sun's energy, and when you begin to do Sun solar,
this is what Chief would call, you know, the light codes.
Exactly. Yeah, sure, definitely.
Because this is why they do sun dance, is to get the light codes from the sun, and so that explains it.
No. See, I'll just go behind one slide, and so that I'll just explain dance concept actually. It's very interesting when you understand Sundance from the nakshatra of, Swati actually. So Sundance, you can see, Sun is actually getting debilitated in Swati, which is a natural 7th house of the zodiac. So you find the sign, Swati is following the sign of Libra, ruled by Venus, which is with the arts. And Sun is also, again, getting debilitated in 7th house. So when you have a Sun dance, you are actually connecting with the Swati nakshatra energy, because it's a group thing, it's a dance performance. Again, 7th house is also the other people. So it's a group dancing thing. And when you do the sun dance, you're actually activating the Swati nakshatra to improve your relationship with the sun. And not only that, people who go through sun dance festival, sun dance kind of event, Sundance kind of events, they literally regain their youth. You see a lot of change upon them. Their face change and stuff like that. They feel like I'm younger again. And there's a lot of other deeper spiritual things going on with the Sundance thing. But it's very interesting, because if you begin to view ancient traditions through the lens of nakshatras, suddenly it's showing up a lot of things. You can make sense as to certain energies are being activated, especially if you come to astrology. So that's the thing. So it's very interesting point, Katya, that with regard to Sundance, you can actually see that in Swati being linked with Sundance in an easy, direct manner. Let's see.
And
and definitely, if you look at Pura Falguni is also carrying, that it's party nakshatras. You dance in parties. The dance kind of has definitely activated also. But definitely, there are many ways. The key point here is that ways to activate the stem cells. It's just that we actually carry stem cells within our own body. Supposedly, there is research that says that, and all the spiritual practices that were out there were actually about activating the energies of the stem cells that are still present within our own body as well. So it's a very interesting thing. So the founder would actually exist.
Anything to do with it? Would Mars have? I mean, because Mars is blood, right? And DNA.
You're right.
Travel through blood, and that's what I discovered. About Sundance is they're getting these light codes, but I mean it's grueling, and you've got to have Mars to help you, or you're not going to make
exactly that. You're exactly that. So now let's look at that. So tell me the sign which is ruled by Mars. What are the signs ruled by Mars?
Obviously, Aries is Mars. So I mean,
exactly. So you have that's exactly it. And then when you do Martian activities, you are activating Aries as well as Scorpio. Now, what is happening in Aries? You actually have Ashwini Nakshatra there. So that's exactly that, So you will have the sun's energies expressing or intimately linked with the energies of Mars. Exactly.
Horses, that's the thing. Like during Sundance, it's not about let's have fun. It's about it's an endurance test. So if you don't keep marching, if you don't keep your feet up, someone's going to come by and whip you over the back to make you keep marching. And that's Mars. And that's the energy that I think people forget about, that this connection.
Yeah, definitely. So you'll have a Martian component to activate the exaltation of sun. This is happening in Ashwini Nakshatra. Exactly that. So you have the blood in your body, which is going to be intimately linked with vitality. You will have Martian activities like a yoga, dance kind of thing, or a disciplinarian to enforce that kind of energies in your life. And that's what you need. And these occult traditions, especially those connected with the fountain of youth, it was a big deal.
Physical activity, And that's just an aside. That's what I've discovered with orphans is if you're looking at an orphan's chart and you're trying to distinguish between the blood relatives and the adopted relatives, the blood is Mars. And so the Mars energy is what's going to tell you what's their blood relatives.
Exactly that, exactly that. And it's a very important concept again, I cannot emphasize that enough, because the people with whom you share blood with, you actually share karma, and you can actually improve your karma immediately through dealing with the energies of the people who share the same blood with you. In fact, that used to be a deep understanding in ancient times, when the community were always together, the families were always together, and they would always understand that the karma was being improved. So if I improve the person with whom I share blood with, literally, the when energies are blooming, my energies will also bloom as well. It's the chart energy, and the way it will happen exactly will depend upon your chart. Exactly that. So yeah, this is the one important point about stem cells, sun. Great that we talked about Sundance. It's excellent, especially. And now there are a lot of secrets there. If you understand what Mars is, if you understand what Sun is, you can connect all these. You use Nakshatras, and then you can understand. You can almost understand the mechanism which is playing behind the activation of this. Easiest thing again is that if we understand that Sun is intimately linked with us, with vitality, with our blood and all that. Of course, with our karma also, with our karma as well. If you begin to meditate on the sun, especially if you do a sun gazing kind of ritual, that is very, very powerful. Especially you can,
So you
especially
guys do
gazing at
that
the.
too? You guys have a sun gazing ritual? Because that's a part of
Yeah.
Sundance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So sun gazing ritual used to be an intimate yogis. The yogis were always in the sun. In fact, I'll share. Let me go also before that. So, like in Egypt, you have God who was actually worshipped as Ra. And he is very about there. And Egypt literally used to gaze at the sun. Egyptian kings and queens would literally gaze at the sun. They would expose their children to the sun, which is a common practice, to improve the vitality of children. And gazing at the sun and having an intimate link with the sun is actually not only giving you the health and vitality, eventually it is also giving you knowledge, which is what is seen in this particular glyph. So you have the information or scripts coming down upon the child from the sun. Not only that, the king and queen are also looking at that sun as well, which is also helping improve them and helping their next generation, stuff like that. So, and this is a god Ra, who's actually having the head of an eagle, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have interesting with Ra is that if you look at eagles are at the top of the food chain as far as the bird world is concerned. You also have eagles flying on the top as well. These are the native reach great heights, because and that's what is symbolized by Ra having an eagle head. And yeah, but this is a very interesting part again with the sun. You have this concept called as the rainbow body. So there is this huge stage you actually can activate your rainbow body and your convert your physical body into a body of light, and that's an actual living tradition in a lot of the Buddhist sects, and they call it the Jaluspa. And apparently this has been successfully documented by many people. So there are monks out there who would meditate, would do the practices based on the sun, who just turn their bodies into light, and you'll find actual cases or documentation where like scientists are actually saying, and yeah, yes, and this guy's body, that kind of thing is actually there. So you'll find that it's interesting. And there are actual traditions out there that do that, And what is interesting is that they say that when a rainbow comes nearby, that's one of those indications that this Lama is going to convert his body into a rainbow, So it used to be a lot of spiritual practices are actually trying to activate the rainbow body within you also. That is what is happening also. When you do stargazing, when you do the sun dance, you not only gain wisdom and light, you are actually able to convert your body into it as well. So, yeah. Go ahead, Katya. I think you were about to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say that's, the Rainbow Tribe is what the seventh generation after the white man came to America is when the Rainbow Tribe is to activate, and this is the tribe that's going to bring everything into a healing modality. Everything's going to come full circle. But yeah, that's something that I've been listening to Autobiography of a Yogi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ben Kingsley has the narrated version, and it's
Right.
wonderful. Even if you've read it, I highly suggest you listen to him speak it, because he just has this intonation. And he's been talking, and it, I mean, I'm only through a third of it, but already he's, teleported and traveled and done things with his obviously, his light body.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so light body is exactly what rainbow body is. So that's what. In fact, it's very fascinating. Again, from a astrology perspective, why the seventh generation is very interesting, because you can see that sun, the Swati Nakshatra is actually forming the sun pose also. So the first generation is the Aries, the second would be Taurus, and and so on. The seventh generation, literally, you find the balancing point, the tipping point where the sun's energy is finding its balance again. So it's very fascinating on that regard, with regard to why the seventh generation would be considered as the rainbow tribe. And again, Swati Nakshatra is not, sure, it is considered as the place where sun is debilitated, but it's holding the great secrets of the rainbow body, in my opinion. Swati Nakshatra by itself. Because Swati is actually the nakshatra Vayu. There are certain breathing practices you can do to enhance your rainbow body. You can meditate with the sun to enhance your rainbow body within you. You can grow your solar body, call it, by doing a lot of practices and stuff. And that's an actual thing. There are, as I mentioned, there are traditions out there. There are thousands of monks out there who are literally working on that. And there are actually successful monks who have demonstrated that too. It's a very strong thing. And sure, the parallelist in all other kind of cultures and world in the world out there too. So that's an important thing. But yeah, so again, it began, and definitely the Egyptians knew it. The Egyptians definitely had a fountain of youth thing on. There is definitely an active fountain of youth thing called as the Jadu Spa in the in Tibetan traditions, the rainbow body. Now, here is an interesting man I just want to bring. It says that Jani, this yogi who doesn't eat, so he was actually blessed by a goddess, and then ever since that, he had a vision with a goddess. The goddess apparently blessed him, and then he hasn't had any food and water since then. And that's an actual thing. There's an actual man out there who's actually living without any food and water. And I think what has happened with him is that once he got the blessings of the goddess, literally that vitality, stem cells within him got activated in a big way. And ever since then, he doesn't really need food and water to sustain itself. He's getting the energies direct from air itself. That's the way I would frame that. So
since 1940.
Yeah, I'm sure you could still find him. Yeah, he was actually subjected to experiments by NASA and stuff like that. That kind of thing. What I don't know. Yeah, so there's an actual guy, but the key thing from an astrological point is that he activated his solar one way or the other, and he interlinked his physical body with his solar body or light body. It happened for him through meditation and spiritual practices, but it's a potential we all can reach. That's the one thing I want to share as far as concerned. So when you activate
call that breatharian, like he's a breatharian.
Yeah, so if he's an actual.
I'm sure that they have something else in India.
Yeah,
that's the way. So, the West has to take something and conceptualize it and put it into a box. Okay, this is this thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a breatharian.
There's an ism.
Exactly, yeah. There's an ism thing there. So what happens usually with ism is that people who say the isms might not be the actual thing. So it's a problem sometimes. You have to look at what is happening there and stuff like that, But it's very interesting because this guy finally became a breatharian, exactly that. So that's the actual potential. Again, why is the breath interlinked with everlasting longevity?
And breath is Swati, I mean, this is...
Yeah. Exactly. Breath is Swati, And finally, I just want to leave a very simple remedy for sun, in which, you have this Surya Namaskar practice or the sun salute practices in yoga. And you can actually do the solar salutations, which is the Surya Namaskar. Yeah, sun salutations by chanting the mantras. That's a very simple way to activate your sun. That is a simple way to connect with Aditya's energies, just way. And this is a very easy thing which I say as a remedy for people who has planets, Sun and Mars, any kind of link between Sun and Mars. I immediately tell them you should be doing sun salutations and mantras. It's a very straightforward thing.
I mean, that was the first asana combination that I learned,
Exactly that.
Most people do, but they kind of take it for granted, I think,
Yeah, no, it's a very powerful thing. Especially do it in chanting mantras along with it. That kind of double amplifies the effect. And not only that, it's much more powerful if you can do it in the morning time when you're gazing at the sun. So then that's kind of triple amplifying the effect. You're not only absorbing the sun's energy along with the mantras, which are also being intonated, So it's a very simplest, very powerful thing. If you can actually use, and guess what? There are actually people who do sun salutations and, they meditate on the sun, energies from the sun. People who gaze at the sun are the most powerful CEOs in the world. They are the people who have a morning routine. In fact, you can find plenty of books that is actually encouraging a morning routine. This is the logic for that.
Yeah.
With that sun, you can connect with the inner light. The only planet that is giving off its own light, So imagine the power, imagine the real kind of power that is actually having. So it's very important. You'll find that all the CEOs, all the leaders, anyone who is aspiring for leadership, even business leaders, people who own their own business, entrepreneurs, that energy of the sun. And this is the best way, again, tradition, to use the Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation, along with the mantra chanting. And this is usually, but it's very, first of all, to have a regular yoga practice. That's by itself, it's a challenge, But then, having said so, I would say that if you have at least a routine of doing 12 sun salutations every day, if you get to that, you will actually appear youthful. How old you look, exactly that. I've seen that actually. I've seen women who would wake up and the first thing in the morning they would do is they would do a series of 12 sun salutations. That's it. And then you can hardly guess their age. You'll be like, how old are you? It's like you will end up being wrong. That's a strong thing I've seen. And that's an actual way to maintain your youth as well. I've seen that. I can highly recommend that, having seen it myself. But this is the easiest way again to connect with. Here the mantras are very interesting. If you look at the mantra, you find the beat sound of the hra sound, the hram, hrim, hroom, hrim, hraum, hra, hram, hrim, hrim, hram, hra. These are like beat sounds associated with sun. So that is very powerful by itself. And then you have the 12 Adityas of sun. The 12 Adityas linked with each of the 12 zodiac signs. You have Mitra, Ravi, Surya, Bhanu, Khaga, Pushan, Hiranyagarbha, Maricha, Aditya, Savitre, Arkaya. So you have like these 12 Adityas that are linked intimately with the zodiac sign. And when you begin to chant these mantras, when you do these sun salutations over the course of an entire year, the 12 signs also begin to get purified. So then your karmas improve not only in one sign, the karmas improve throughout the entire sign as well. Because each of these Adityas are intimately linked with each of those Suryas, each of these signs as well. So so that's what I have.
Agnihotra is something that I've really connected with. Doing
right. So now,
sunset and sunrise.
Now, so which nakshatras can do the Agni?
What's that?
Which nakshatra is connected with Agni?
Agni?
Yeah.
Well, Kritika, right?
Exactly that. So why is the sun intimately linked with Agnihotra? Sunset, sunrise, exactly that.
The fire. I mean, it's the heat.
Exactly that. So you have that. So you can find how the sun's nakshatra and sun's energies are accessed through the Agnihotra, and you
Right.
can
And
see
what's
that.
happening is a magnetic induction, because what's happening at sunset is the sun is coming up over the horizon, and for wherever you're sitting on the earth, it's creating in physics, it's called magnetic induction. And
Yep.
so when that happens, that energy goes. And
Exactly
so
that.
if you do Agnihotra right at sunset or sunrise or sunset, that fire is getting set up. It's like 4.5 kilometers up. And
Yep.
so it will protect 150 acres circumference from where you
Yep.
are. And that's why to take advantage of that magnetic induction is very powerful.
Exactly that. So so you can access the sun's energy through Kritika Nakshatra as well, which is Agni, which is what you are doing. And then so the final potential, as I mentioned, is that of with sun is actually the rainbow body attaining the golden body of light, or the golden egg, as they call it. The golden is the Hiranyagarbha, the solar body, the womb of the solar body, in which you can actually attain immortality. The concept of twice born in Aditya, in Ashwini Nakshatra, you have two gods. You have the two Ashwini Kumars. This is the concept of how you are being born. You can link that twice born concept with the Hiranyagarbha. Now, what is interesting with Pura Falguni, the Pura Falguni is also associated with womb. It's also associated with the children, and the sexuality is falling in the 5th house of the natural zodiac, which is actually connected with children. So you can actually give birth to your own golden body of light. You already have that within you, but you can kind of manifest that body of light into this physical domain. And there are practices, exactly like the sun salutation practices, the other solar practices out there, right? In the Jalu Spa practices, as we looked at, the rainbow body practices, the sun dance practices, even. So those are very, very powerful practices that are out there, and it is actually possible, to attain this kind of thing. It might actually sound like science fiction, but it's out there. These traditions are pointing to this kind of fact. So that's what is the biggest.
The shape that is created from your light body is called the Merkaba, and there's so much written on that. I mean, it's not woo woo at all. It's actually
exactly that. So,
quite grounded in physics.
Right, exactly that. So that's it. So I wanted to share that. So like how this theme of how you can actually connect with sun's energy, the deepest potentials of sun's through all the nakshatras. You can connect with the sun. I wanted to share it from a spiritual perspective in the end, but know that if you understand the nakshatra interlink happening with sun, now after presentation, you can understand not really the sun rule nakshatras through sun. You can also understand also the VIP nakshatras, which I called it, like the Ashwini, the Maga, and also the Swati nakshatra as being linked with sun also. And then, of course, you can add into that mix of nakshatras, the nakshatra of Pura Falguni, which is actually falling in you. So now, again, and you can actually begin to look at these practices, the solar practice, and you can look at.
Can I share something real fast?
Sure,
I
go
want
ahead,
to show you just the current positions of what's going on, because Venus is in Aquarius right now.
Right.
Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Real time. Yeah. So Venus is in Aquarius, and what I'm discovering, because I'm looking around me and I'm seeing all these people with Leo, and they're all getting triggered. And I'm like, what's going on? Oh, Venus is in Aquarius, and Venus is opposite Leo. So if you've got Leo in your chart right now, chances are you're getting triggered. I'm just saying, like, especially with love, women, female friendships, all that kind of stuff for a woman. For a man, it's obviously going to be his significant other. But all that stuff, when, you know, and we have to pay attention to the opposite sign, the opposite nakshatra. And so this is just what I'm discovering right now, is that all this Leo stuff is getting triggered by, and Neptune. I mean, Neptune is the planet of it can be delusion. And so when these faster moving planets come by and conjunct it, it's like deceptions and delusions are exposed. And, you know, especially when it's retrograde, I mean, it's really bad. But when it's direct, you know, it's just, it's showing you, you know, the shadow side of these other planets that conjunct it. And so I've just been noticing that lately. I just wanted to show people that because I was thinking, what on earth is going on? Why are all of these Leos getting triggered? And I go, oh, Venus is in Aquarius.
Yeah,
so,
Venus is very close to Neptune by transit. So it's adding to its effect for sure.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show people that because, you know, whenever you're feeling something, just go right to the transit and go, okay, it's not just the planet that, or the sign that it's in, it's the opposite. The opposite is just strong. So
right, exactly that. Yeah. Great.
okay, well, thank you so much, Santhip. As usual, you are incredibly thorough and so incredibly insightful. And I know this is going to help a lot of people and help them, you know, just get to the bottom of, you know, what they're feeling and what's going on. Because if you can sort out your feelings, I feel like you can really make some growth. So thank you so much for everything. You're a wonderful teacher. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Katya.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Sure.